Mesve. That is maybe about 11 lines from the top. Okay. I thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. It's supposed to be learning we should have. Immediately. Yeah. We'll learn on Sunday also. What time is sleepless on Sunday? Sleepless is probably going to be 7 o'clock. So we'll learn from, maybe on Sunday we'll start a little bit later. Right? So still on Sunday is like an hour. Right? An hour. We'll figure it out. Okay. What's the name? Yes, it's about to discuss. Okay. What we learned before was that we're doing this comparison between a father that needs to bring a proof that the mum of his daughter came after the betrothal. And what was the purpose of that? Well, the very last piece of the Gemara said that the purpose of that, what was he trying to gain by proving that? Is that he should be able to keep the Kedushin money. Because there was a discussion, if the Kedushin doesn't work out, does the money get returned? So he wanted to keep it because the fact that the Kedushin isn't working out, that's not because it never existed. That's because it did exist, but the guy is just divorcing it. So he can still keep the Kedushin money. But he has to prove that the marriage was a real marriage, and he does that by saying that the mum came later. So just in short, in order for him to retain the money, he has to prove. For him to hold on to that money, which is odd, because usually the guy that's extracting the money needs to prove, not the one that's retaining. So here, the one that's retaining. Anyway, the next example that we had in comparison to this was someone that exchanged a donkey and a cow. Now, the owner of the donkey had already pulled the cow, but the donkey had passed away by the time the owner of the cow decides to go get it. So we said that the owner of the donkey needs to bring proof in order to retain the cow, which matched up perfectly. No, he already has taken the cow. The owner of the donkey has already taken the cow. In order to keep the cow, he has to. And we did this comparison to the father keeping the Kedushin money from the husband. Okay, now the Gemara has a question. Let's say there's a needle that's found in the thickness of one of the stomachs. It's called the basic cases. How do they translate that over there? Second stomach. Okay. Apparently, the skin on the stomach is a little bit thicker. Not every time it's pierced by the needle there is it considered a treifa, because could be it only went halfway through. So if it's mitzad echad ksheira, if it only goes through halfway, so then it's kosher. But mishnei tzadim, but if the whole goes through and through, then it's pierced both skins, the thick skins. So then it's a treifa. Let's say you see a little drop of blood by this by the hole of the needle. So then obviously the hole was made before the shechita. After the shechita, it wouldn't be bleeding. But if there was no blood there, and obviously the needle went through after the shechita. What are we discussing over here? Well, we're discussing, was the animal a treifa at the time of the shechita? Let's say there's a scab over it. And obviously, not only was the animal a treifa, that it was before the shechita, but it was even 3 days before the shechita. But if there is no scab over it, then And what we're discussing now is that the butcher bought this animal from the owner of the animal, and he wants his money back because he says it's a treifa. He sold me a treifa. I want an animal that I could eat, not a treifa. So we see over here, he's trying to get his money back, but we don't know when the wound happened. Could be it happened after he bought it. If the butcher had already paid the owner, he has to bring a proof that the treifa, this problem occurred before the purchase, and then he bought a treifa. Why do you have to pay for that? Why do we say that? According to the way we said that if you want to hold on to, let's go back. The father needed to bring a raya, bring a proof to hold on to the kedushin money. The owner of the donkey that has now exchanged it for the cow has to bring a raya to hold on to the cow. So we should say also that the owner of the original owner of this animal should have to bring a raya to hold on to the money. Let's see how we're matching this up. So the Gemara answers, but lo yav tav chudami. We're talking about where the person didn't pay it. And so the owner of the animal actually does have to bring a raya in order to get it, in order to get the money. If he had already received the money, then maybe you're right. He would have to bring a raya to hold on to it. If we're talking about that he didn't get the money yet. So now he's trying to prove that it was a treifa later so you could get the money. My Pascha. What's convincing you that, how do they translate Pascha? Why does it say? Yeah. Why was this like stated like 100%? Why are you so determined that the butcher did not give the money? He didn't pay the owner yet. Ella Kiyasa Rami Bar Cheskel Amar, he said, in other words, this brisa didn't say the exact scenario. The brisa just said that could mean even if he did give the money. And which, if that's the case, then it contradicts the logic of the other case. So, and it one doesn't match up, right? So if you say that he didn't give the money, then fine. But how do you know? The Mishnah itself didn't say that that's the case. So Elokiyasa Rami Bar Cheskel Amar, Rami Bar Cheskel came. We had Rami Bar Cheskel earlier. It says, don't listen to those rules that my brother says in the name of Shmuel. What's the rule that he said in the name of Shmuel? So it's the exchanging the animals. Don't listen to that. Why? Shmuel said something else. Shmuel didn't say it that the owner of the donkey needs to prove that it died after he had already pulled the cow. That's not what he said. What he really said was, that means when did they discover that the donkey was dead? In yesterday's case, right? He pulls the cow, or they're exchanging a cow for a donkey. The owner of the donkey pulls the cow, and everything is good. But then when the owner of the cow goes to get the donkey, sees that it's dead. So Shmuel didn't say that the owner of the donkey needs to prove that it had died after he had already pulled the cow in order to hold on to the cow. Rather, the owner of the cow has to prove, because there was Noilad Safed B'Shusei. It's only when he goes to check on it, to see what his cow, how his donkey is doing, new purchased donkey, he finds out it's dead. So he has to bring the proof that it had died before the other person had pulled that's exactly the opposite. The Tanatuna, and then he concludes, he says, Kala, and I'll prove it to you from the Kala. That's exactly what we said before, except we just said it the other way. What's the case by the Kala? Well, one of the ways of explaining the contradiction in the Brahmas over here, in the contradiction, in the Mishnah, where one part of the Mishnah said that the father has to bring the proof, the other part of the Mishnah said the husband has to bring the proof. So we had different ways of explaining it. The way Rabbi explained it before yesterday was that wherever the suffix is born, wherever the doubt is discovered, so that's the one that has to bring the proof. So if the doubt was in the father's house, then the father has to bring the proof that it happened later. It's the doubt that it was in the doubt if they discovered the moon in the husband's house after she moved in, then he has to bring a proof that it was early. So the onus of bringing the proof goes on wherever it was discovered. So here too, back to us, we say wherever the dead animal is found, if it's found by the after the person had already pulled the cow, so which means that it's in the possession of the cow owner now, that he has to bring the proof that it had died before the other person pulled the cow, and it matches up. The only problem is, we have the question, if you have a needle that's inside an animal's stomach and it would make the animal treifa, and we don't know when the needle pierced through the wall of the stomach. So we said before that the owner did not pay the money, the butcher did not pay the owner for the animal, and the owner of the animal is asking for the money. If they didn't pay for it yet, the owner of the animal needs to bring a proof that the needle had pierced the stomach after the purchase, and he wants his money. It says it's not my fault that you had a treifa, and I'm not giving you a warranty on something that happens in your possession. It happened later. So why does it have to be that he has to bring the proof? Where did the doubt occur? In the butcher's possession. By the woman, where did the doubt occur? In wherever the doubt occurs, that's the one that has to bring the proof. Either the husband or the father. If it's in the husband's house, then he has to bring the proof. And by the what was the case by the balapara? By the who has to bring the proof? The balapara, because it was in his possession. So here too, the who should bring the proof is the one that has the animal, which is the butcher, not the original owner. We said the original owner has to bring the proof. Yeah, here we're saying though, not the person that's making the claim, where whoever has it in his possession, could be the father's possession by the girl. He has to bring the proof that it happened. That it happened after, and the husband has to bring a proof if it's in his possession that it happened there. So it doesn't have to do with who's making the claim; it has to do with where the doubt occurred. Marianne says, "Do you have tabach damim?" So we're switching the case. The butcher had already paid. Okay. How did it settle this? We have different ways of answering. One of them was wherever the doubt occurred. Another one was it depends if she's asking for the money or her father's asking for the money. We had different ways of it. Well, my pascha, how do you know we're talking about where the money was paid already? Okay, now what happens if the money's paid? So then who brings the proof? The money's paid. And the guy, then the butcher wants his money back. Where did the doubt occur? By the butcher. So he has to bring the proof. Hamaitzi, it works out perfectly. It matches up perfectly. The only problem is my pascha. How do you know that that's the case? That the butcher had already paid for this to work out perfectly. If he didn't pay, then the original owner would have to bring a proof of when it occurred that it's a treifa. Because we said the terms the one that's extracting has to bring the proof. So if he had paid already, then he's the one extracting, he brings the proof, and then it matches up because the doubt occurred in his possession. He's the butcher. Gemara says, well, this is assumed that no one's going to give the cow, I shouldn't say cow, shouldn't give any animal the butcher until the butcher pays for it. So we're assuming that would be the standard. The standard case was that the butcher paid, and now he has an animal that maybe is a treifa. Now he wants to get his money back, so he has to bring a proof that it was a treifa before he purchased it. Okay. Yeah, we got out of the difficult part. This gets a little bit lighter. The sages said that when can he say that the whole marriage was void? That was because he didn't see the mum, because it was a hidden mum. But if it was a visible mum, then she should have seen it. Right? That was what the sages said. Rav Nachman says, in nikva, this is someone that has epilepsy, something like that. They collapse. What was that, like seizures or something? That's a hidden mum. I don't know. Immediately the kvila is man. Why is it a hidden mum? That's because they get these seizures at set intervals. So at those times when they get it, they don't go out. No one knows about it. However, no, they don't know about the cause of the seizure. They're looking at seizures. Okay. So but if there is no set time when it happens, then then that's considered something that's well known, because that could happen anywhere. It could happen. Not that it could. It probably happened in the public, and he should have known about it, and they probably just accepted it. Okay. The Ishanalda by Mumin. We're switching the claim over here. It was before the last Mishnah was, but what woman has a mum? He didn't know about it. He says, "What are you doing to me?" He told me a lemon. She has a mum. Now we're talking about it's the opposite. The woman has a claim on the man. He has a mum. Well, we don't force him to divorce her just because he has a mum. Rab Shimon ben Gamliel says, 1 second. That's only if it's a small mum. But if it's a large mum, we force him to divorce. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Tani Noldo. Rabbi Yehuda said that this Mishnah is talking about when the mum came after the marriage. Noldo by, right? It says over here, Hishin Noldo by mum. Mum came after the marriage. Chia Barav Tani, both of them are students of Rab. Rabbi Yehuda is a student of Rab, and Rab's son, Chia Barav, is also a student of Rab. He says, Hayu, that the women were there before. Well, what's the halacha? But in either way, we want to learn this. That we don't force him to divorce her. Manda Ronaldo, the one that says that it was came later. Kolskin Hayu. For sure that if the mum was before, we don't force him to divorce. Why? Because Savra Kibla. Because she knew about it and she accepted him as her husband. What were you thinking? However, Manda Marhayu, the one that says that the women were there before, what would be if the mum came later, after the marriage? Aval Noldu Loi. But if it came later, maybe we do force him to divorce her. She says she can't handle the mum. Tanan was taught in the Mishnah. Shimon Gamliel makes a distinction between small moment, small defects, and large defects. Well, if you say that it came later, I know the Shani ben Gedel Nektana. That's why we make a difference. Maybe a big mom she can't handle and she wants to get divorced, and we force him to divorce her. He doesn't want to divorce her. But El Lamanda Marhayu Malik Del Malik Tanim. But if they were always there, and what's the svara? What's the reason why we don't force him to divorce? Because she knew about it and she accepted it. Hasavar Bekibla, she accepted it. What's the difference in the size of it? The difference is that if it's a large mom, she had to make an assumption of what she can handle. And she assumed that she'd be able to handle it. But then, after she got married, and she realized she can't handle that mom, so she's allowed to change her mind. Ve'elain mumin gedailim. Pirsh Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Sorry. He disagrees, but if it's a large mum, according right, who does enforce it? What's a mum in gedailim? Can nismas einu nikta yadi nisparagla? His eye is blinded, or his hand gets cut off, or his foot gets cut off, and the woman says, "I can't handle that." Does Bezdin force him to divorce him because she wants out? Both eyes are fine. It says both eyes. Yeah, they're quoting the drama. Right. No, he's quoting the halakha. He's quoting a Rambam that learns it. No, but this according to like the halakha. Right. Okay. Itmar. Rabbi Abba Bar Yaakov Amar Rabbi Yechon Halakha Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. That we have a statement, Rabbi Abba Bar Yaakov, in the name of Rabbi Yechon and the Halakha Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, that says there's a difference between small moment, small blemishes, big blemishes, that sometimes the husband does get forced to divorce because something happened to him. Rav Amar Rab Nachman Halacha Divrei Chachamim. Rav said the name of Rab Nachman Halacha is like the sages, that he is never forced to force her because of something that happened to him. Me Amar Rab Yechanan Hachi does Rab Yechanan say Halacha Shimon ben Gamliel, but the problem is Amar Rabba Bar Bachana Rab Yechanan Machal Machem Shana Rab Shimon ben Gamliel Musnein Halacha Kamaisi Chutz Me'er B'Tzidan Raya Achrayna. Rab Yechanan always passes like Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, except for 3 cases, which are those Arif Tzeidan and Raya. Well, why do I need Rabbi Yechanan to say the halacha like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel if he had other statements that the halacha was always like Reb Shimon, not specifically in this case, in every case? Well, so the Gemara says, "I'm a Rainin of Rabbi Yechanan." Well, you're right. That was a different student of Rabbi Yechanan that said the halacha was like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. This student of Rabbi Yechanan said that in this case the halacha like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. What did they say about other cases? I don't know. But different students. Okay. I'm not sure. Right. Right. That's what we said. That she said she thought she can handle it. No, she can't. I think that was what it. There's a very interesting thesis here. Thesis brings up that a woman can make this claim whenever she wants, and always that would be grounds for divorce. I thought I could handle his snoring. Okay, that's it. She's decided she can't handle it. That's it. It could be anything. That's how do you know, like, if this is something that the Taisa says that they won't do this if they believe that there's some sort of trick going on. It has to be something that's a real issue. Missing a hand and I can't do this. You have to help them all day. Something that would actually change the lifestyle. Yeah. Okay. The following are forced to divorce. The men are forced to divorce the wives if they have this. Mukashchin. How do they translate mukashchin? They have boils, leprosy. Ubal polypus. We're going to see. What is it? Polyps. We'll see what this is. We'll see it in the Gemara. Mekamitz. We'll see in the Gemara also. This is someone that gathers like a dog excrement. They use it in tanning. A mitzaref necheshes, a coppersmith. A borsi is a tanner. They smell very badly. Bein shahayu ad shleinis, they probably didn't have the same hygiene to bathe before they got home. Bein shahayu ad shleinisu, bein mishinisu noldu. Doesn't matter if they had these things before they got married or they got them after they got married. Al kulam amra me'af bishisni mecheli shetem swirli she swir hayisi shani echel lekabel v'achshavin echel lekabel. Rameir says that she can also say that I thought I could handle it, but I see I can't. So she wants out. I'm going to say that if she accepted it, then she accepted it. Except for mukashlim, except for the boils. Because his skin falls off and he can't have relations with her. So for that, they force him to divorce. There's a story in Tzidin with one tanner. Shemes, he passed away. And they didn't have children, but he had a brother that was also a tanner. It's a family business. Amr Chachamim, the sages said, she's able to say, could tell the Yavam, don't tell me that I could handle the smell of a tanner because I was married to your brother. And it's on that works leather. It's a bad smell. Don't tell. No, after it's tan. Before it's tan, it smells like rotting meat. Probably. It smells bad. But so she say, I can't handle this new husband, even though I could handle your brother, the deceased husband, even though he was a tanner as well and stunk. But that's because I like him.
She can say your brother.
Right, but I can't. The new husband, the new brother that's doing Yibam, she says she can't handle.
Might be your name.
Right. The other one I can handle because she loved the other one or something. But even though the smell is the same, it's not like they won't smell different. I said I could put up with them because I like them. Okay. My Baal Polipus, what is this Baal Polipus? Some Rabbi there Shmuel Reach HaChaitim. Rabbi Yehuda says the name Shmuel, that it's the smell that comes from the nose. Masnisim Tana Reach HaPeh, smell that comes from the mouth. Would there really be a difference between the smell from the nose and the mouth? It comes from the breath.
Well, if it ends with violence, it's one.
Sounds good. Oh, interesting.
You know what?
Oh, okay. But the Brisa says that it's a smell from the mouth. Ravasi says the other way. That Shmuel was the one that said from the mouth. He said, if you want to remember that Shmuel is the one that said the smell comes from the mouth, the Shmuel, this Perek, he always it never left his mouth. This chapter, so that's the way to remember that Shmuel is the one that says the smell comes from the mouth, not from the nose. But Shmuel always reviewed this chapter.
So you can say you never left his mouth. That's a really bad thing. Because it never left his mouth. You try to remember that.
Makamet, don't let. Makamet, what is Makamet? My Makamet. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. I'm Makamet Says Club. There's someone that gathers dog excrement. Meisvei, if you have a question, Makamet a borsi. Makamet is a borsi, is a tanner. Mar says, how can you say that? We have a question in our mission according to that. Makamet and mitzaref the cheshes borsi. You listed Mekamets and the Borsi. Can't be the same thing. Officially, must need like Kasha come Borsi Gadol come Borsi Katan. The Mishnah won't be a problem because there's a Borsi, a big Borsi and a small Borsi at the tanner. We're assuming now that the big Borsi has a lot of hides to tan, and he always stinks. The Borsi Katan doesn't have so much hides. He doesn't always stink or he doesn't smell so bad. So maybe that would be the difference. And how would that explain? that our Mishnah is talking about the Borsi Gadol. Or whatever. Doesn't matter. Well, El Rav Yehuda, Kasha, but according to Rav Yehuda, that says that Mekamitz is someone that collects dung, dog excrement. So why I have a brisa that says he's a tanner? The Gemara says Tanai. Don't worry that Rav Yehuda said that, because Rav Yehuda has another source. That's actually Machlekas Tanaim, the Tanya Mekamitz, of course. Yeshem Mitzah Mekamitz. Yeshem Mitzah Mekamitz says Klubim. That a Mekamitz is someone that gathers the dog excrement. So Rav Yehuda has a brisa that he follows. Mitzaref Nacheshes Rav Borsi. My Mitzaref Nacheshes. What does it mean that he is a coppersmith? Rav Ashi Amachashli Dudi. Sounds like he bangs out the metal, the copper, to make it into a pot. Right? That's what it says. Rabba Bar Bachana Mezeh Machatich Nacheshes Meikare. He's not just making the pots. He's not just the smith. He's actually mining the copper from the mine. He's taking it out. That maybe could smell also, I guess. Hanikava said the Rabba Bar Bachana is a mitzaref nacheshes. He's a mitzaref zemachatich nacheshes meikar. We have a brisa that supports Rabba Bachana that says that it's taking the metal, the copper ore from the mine. Rav says, Rav says that if a man said, I'm not going to support you, I'm not going to feed you, we force him to get divorced. Force him to divorce her. He's not going to feed her. Well, Azul Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Lazar heard this. Rabbi Lazar goes there to Israel later, but apparently here he's by Rav, and he hears that he goes to Shmuel to tell it over. Amar, Shmuel says, they fed barley, unedible barley to Elazar. That doesn't make sense. Why did they force him to divorce? Just force him to pay for her food. For Rav, what does Rav respond to that? If we're going to force him, let him force him. He says, you can't force a person to live with a snake in the same basket. So, they don't want it to have to force, because this guy, it's going to be difficult. Kisalak Reb Zera. Reb Zera went to Eretz Yisrael. The same thing. He hears that they force him to divorce her if he decides not to support her. Reb Zera's comments to Rabbi Yamin Bar Yafas, he says, this is what they told Rabbi Lazar, that they're feeding him barley, unripe barley or unedible, untoasted. Rav Asi. Rav Yehuda says, name Rav Asi, Ein Maisen El Lepsules. The only time we force a person to get divorced is only if they weren't allowed to be married in the first place. When Rav Yehuda said in front of Shmuel, Amar, he gave examples. A widow married to a kain gadol, a divorcee to a regular kain, mamzer in Yisrael, a mamzer to a regular Jew, bas Yisrael and nasal mamzer, a Jewish girl to a mamzer. But if a man was married for 10 years and he didn't have children, they do not force him to get divorced so that he should be able to have children. Rav Tachlifa Bar Avimi Amar Shmuel, Rav Tachlifa Bar Avimi said the name of Shmuel differently. This is the next opinion, but they do force him. So now we have to see. We're going to try to bring a proof if he's correct. These are the ones that get divorced and not others. If he has boils or if he has this polypus, we said was a smell. Bishlam Ravasi, the Rabbanan Ktani, according to Ravasi, that says that the only time we force a person to get divorced was only if it's forbidden to get married in the first place. So what do we say? These are the ones that get divorced. That's because this is only rabbinic. Forbidden to be married was a biblical problem. Now we're adding in the rabbinic ones. The Rabbanan Ktani, the Raisa Ktani. We weren't talking about the psulis when we said only the psulis. We weren't talking about the daraisas. El Rav Tachlifa Bar Avimi, listening, Nasi Yisrael Shayim Yasashana V'Layalda Kaipan, I say. But according to Rav Tachlifa Bar Avimi, you're talking about rabbinic laws. Then they should add one more. Not only the mukashchin, it's forced to, but also if they didn't have children, we should force them to divorce her. I'm Rav Nachman like Kasha, but Mili Abashuti. What we're saying is there's a difference between forcing him to get divorced by convincing him to get divorced with words, or hitting him with a stick to get divorced. If they were married for 10 years and have children, they just convince him, not they hit him with the stick. Maska for Rababa, but the Baba says you don't change a servant with just words. You have to have some sort of serious punishment. Elam Rababa, Hava Bashuti. It depends. Both of them are with sticks. Over there, when she says, I want to stay together with him. Over here, it's when he's saying that even if she says she wants to stay with him, but he has mukashrin, he has a sort of like leprosy type of thing, then they don't have them stay together. Okay, let's leave it over here. I'll go over that piece. Okay. We'll go over that. I'll go over to this bottom line over here. Hello,
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.
have a great day. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.